Hey, this is Pat with the White Mountain Avalanche Education Foundation, and we're going to talk a little today about the preseason checkup and inspection of avalanche rescue gear. The thing we're going to start with is the avalanche rescue shovel. First thing to think about is if your shovel is a metal shovel or if it's a non-metal shovel. If you find yourself having a non-metal shovel, I would really encourage you to go out and invest in a shovel that's metal. It's more durable and it certainly will last a lot longer and be a more reliable tool in an avalanche rescue. When I'm doing my initial inspection of the shovel, I want to look it over for any cracks or damage that it might have in the blade and in the handle and in the grip. I'm checking my probe at the beginning of the season. I usually store it in this bag over the summer, and then once ski season starts, I take this bag and I just store it away, and that way I have quick and easy access to my probe in my backpack. And it's one less compartment I have to take it out of. One thing that's fairly common with probes after doing a lot of practice and deploying them a bunch of times over the years is that the connection points of the probe sections can sometimes become damaged. And that plastic or aluminum or whatever the material is sometimes can crack or it can be dented, and that causes the probe not to deploy correctly. And in an emergency situation, obviously, we want our probe to be reliable and deploy with ease. So that's one of the first things I check on my probe. Once I have my probe deployed, there's a couple more areas that I want to check to make sure that everything's in good working order. The first is the cable that connects all of my probe sections together. I want to make sure that this is looking intact and there's not exposed or frayed wires or cord anywhere. The next area I'm going to check is the locking mechanism. I really want to make sure that this locking mechanism is working smoothly and as it's intended to. If it's really hard to pull your probe together and get it to lock, or if for some reason the locking mechanism is slipping and the probe is coming disengaged, that's a huge failure point on a probe and something that you either need to fix or you need to just invest in a new probe. Now I'm just going down the length of my probe, just looking for any external damage or cracking that I may find in here. So this is a carbon probe, and one thing I'm noticing actually right around 45 centimeters on my probe is that I've got some damage from my ECT cord from last season. I think what was happening was I was trying to isolate a column of snow, and it was actually resting on a crust of some sort. And since my cord was staying in the same place for a little bit of time as it was trying to get through that crust, it was actually sawing away at this piece of my probe. That's really concerning to me as I go into the year because it's certainly going to be a weak point on my probe, and I don't want that. When checking your beacon at the beginning of each season, the first thing I like to do is just start with the screen and make sure there's no cracks, and also the housing, and make sure that there's no cracks or damage to either of those external areas of the beacon. Then I want to open up the battery compartment and just look in there and make sure that there hasn't been any corrosion in the battery compartment over the course of the summer. A classic way to get corrosion in your battery compartment is by leaving the batteries in during the off season. Then I'm going to go ahead and put batteries in my beacon and turn it on. And I'm going to watch it as it goes through its normal function check. At the end of the day, I always remind myself that these tools are all useless if I don't know how to use them. So I make a point at the beginning of the season to go out with my ski partners and make sure that I'm refreshing all of my skills for partner rescue and really challenging myself and trying new scenarios and really trying to stump myself. And that's one great way that I've learned how to get better and improve these skills. If you haven't already, it's also a great idea to look into taking an avalanche course with one of the many great providers that are located in the Mount Washington Valley.